13 things about the USA I can't live without any more. Very excited for this video. If you guys are excited, make sure to like and subscribe. Now let's dive straight into this video.
5 years of me living in the US, so what do I really It's been 5 years of me living in the US, so what do I really think of this country after all this time? Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia, I'm originally from Munich, Germany, and 5 years ago today is when I arrived in the US for my first long-term stay here. I had been to the US for a 2-week-long high school exchange and for vacation before, but I had never actually lived here. Until August 13th, 2016, when I got on a plane from Munich to Paris and then from Paris to Cincinnati to start my exchange semester at the University of Cincinnati.
Gotcha.
And what was supposed to be just a 5-month-long stay turned into me coming back over and over again on different visas until I received my green card in September 2019. Wow. If you want to learn more about me winning the green card lottery, I'm gonna link the videos about that down below and also up here. Since that day 5 years ago,
Green card lottery, what in the world is that? Let me know.
I haven't been in the US permanently. I spent a little over a year in Germany during that time too, but I still consider this my 5-year US anniversary, and I think this is a great occasion for a recap, which is why I want to share 13 things, since today is August 13th, about the US with you that I don't want to live without anymore after living here for 5 years. Number one on my list of things about the US that I don't want to live without anymore is air conditioning. As you guys know, it's pretty normal in the US to have air conditioning in buildings, whether that's stores, public buildings, or private homes. More modern buildings even have central air conditioning usually, where the air gets circulated through these air vents that you'll find in every room. Now, why is this so special? For those of you who don't know, in Europe and actually in most countries of the world, it's actually not standard to have air conditioning inside of buildings. Now, in one of my pretty early videos, I actually said that I wasn't a big fan of central AC, and many of you guys commented that I wouldn't say that if I lived in a hotter area. Now, first of all, Cincinnati does get extremely hot and especially humid in the summer. This year it's been fluctuating a little bit more, but usually from about April to September, it's 80 to 90 degrees almost the whole time with a really high humidity, which often makes it pretty hard to deal with. It'll get over 100 degrees a lot too, so like around 38 degrees Celsius. Now, of course, we also have cold winters here, but it's not like we don't deal with the heat here at all. If you look at the longitude, Cincinnati is about the same level as Ibiza in Spain or Sardinia in Italy. The reason why I said I didn't love central AC back then was because when living with other people or in public buildings like at a university, Americans often really overdo it with the AC. Instead of setting the temperature to a normal average room temperature inside that would already feel cold compared to the hot summer air outside, it often feels like an actual fridge inside. I'm not kidding, people often set it to like 16 to 18 degrees Celsius, like around 63 degrees Fahrenheit, which to me is just as inconvenient as the outdoor temperature. It's just the other extreme. Plus, you usually wear short summer clothes during that time, and it's pretty annoying to always basically have to carry a sweater with you in the middle of the summer because you'll need it when you go inside. So that was one reason why I said that back then, and then the other reason was that I find it kind of annoying that in a bigger house, when you live with your family or roommates, it's all regulated centrally. So you can't turn it up or down or even off just in your room or just in the living room. If the rest of the people want the AC on, you have to live with it. In most places, you can usually close your vent in your room, but that doesn't usually make that big of a difference. I personally like it better if you could regulate the temperature individually in every room. I remember that 5 years ago when I came here on my exchange semester in August, I was sitting in my room doing homework or something, and I was wearing my warm winter clothes that I had brought for later on in the semester, and I was also wearing a scarf because I found it so cold inside. And I also got sick for like a few weeks straight right after I came here because the AC was so cold. But besides that, I think it's awesome that AC exists here because it helps a lot with the humidity, and it's also just really, really nice to be in a restaurant or even in a club with a dance floor and not have to sweat your ass off. In Germany, when it's hot everywhere usually. On the subway, in restaurants, at school, in the office. But here, you don't usually have to worry about your legs sticking to a chair when sitting down in the summer, so that's pretty awesome. Plus, ceiling fans are great too, so when I'm home in Germany in the summer, when it's actually hot there for once, I actually do miss both my AC and my ceiling fans. Number 2 is customer service. I know that many Germans don't share this opinion, especially the ones who only know this from vacation to the US or from the media, but once you've gotten used to it, American customer service is pretty amazing. Whether it's at a store or a restaurant, overall, people working in customer service just treat you really, really nicely here.
And I've seen that by proof. A lot of reactors that go to America, American customer service is the next level. Here in New Zealand, it is terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's probably the worst things about New Zealand is I feel they just don't care. Whether it's the tip incentive and they don't get tips here, I don't know what it is, but our service here is pretty terrible.
They'll be friendly, make small talk with you, and usually try to accommodate every request you might have, even if you're basically asking to create a whole new meal that isn't on the menu. In Germany, you'd probably just get an answer along the lines of, that's not possible. Not even a sorry in a lot of cases. Of course, this isn't always the case, but overall, this is a difference that really sticks out. And even though many Germans say that they prefer the direct and sometimes even unfriendly German customer service, I really haven't met anyone who says that after living here for a while. It definitely takes a little bit to get used to the American way, because as a German, it might seem disingenuous at first, maybe even fake and over the top, but it's kind of like a cultural language that you'll have to learn how to speak and understand first, and I personally don't want to live without it anymore. I've had so many people working in customer service just make my day much better just by being friendly or exchanging some nice small talk. It can even make running errands a much more pleasant experience. I just recently told a story about when I had to get my Ohio driver's license renewed on the podcast. That was a perfect example of this too, so I'll just link that episode down below. Of course, I know that, especially in the food service industry, a lot of the good customer service goes back to the staff being paid only a few dollars an hour and mainly relying on tips. But you'll experience the good customer service in other fields as well, where people are paid much better, so I would argue that it's much more than just the tipping culture. Another cool thing about the US is that there are so many entrepreneurs and creatives in this country that you can learn from. For example, on Skillshare, which is today's sponsor, so a big shout out to them. Skillshare, they argue that it's much more than just the tipping culture. People are paid. A big shout out to the next friendship, sense of self-work. I feel like in the late to all about gone for learning and subscribe list Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. The next point on my list is convenience. I feel like this one is a pretty obvious one, but the US really is the country of consumption and convenience.
Love this. This is probably one of my favorite ones. Convenience. I mean, banking, pharmacy, drive-thrus.
Need some milk, a new bathing suit, and a new lamp for your living room? Just go to Walmart or Target or any of those stores and you'll find everything in one store. Plus, there's most likely also going to be a Starbucks in there too. You're in a hurry, but you need to stop by the store for a couple things? No worries, just run in, check out at the self-checkout machine, and usually you don't even need to bring your wallet, just pay with your phone. If you realize at midnight on a Sunday that you're out of tomatoes, no worries, just go to the grocery store.
We can't do that here in New Zealand. Everything shuts by 7 to 9 o'clock. Everything's shut. So 10 o'clock, you want a tomato, you ain't gonna get a tomato till the next morning.
Many of them don't close until 1 a.m. or never. And stores aren't closed on Sundays like they are in Germany. What a dream. Or you can just have the tomatoes delivered, or order takeout from a restaurant with services like Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub, etc. And of course, a big part of this whole convenience thing is also the fact that here in the Midwest, you can just drive to places and you'll usually find parking pretty easily, and the parking spots are huge compared to Germany, and so are the streets. Driving here in Ohio is just so relaxing compared to driving and especially parking in Munich. Is it environmentally friendly? Definitely not. Is it convenient though? Unfortunately, yes.
Parking here in New Zealand, main cities, an absolute nightmare. They charge you for parking. You can't find a park. Nightmare. Outskirts, you're pretty okay. But even that, depending on what time of the year, if it's busy, you don't find a park. You're walking. You're walking about 1K to 2Ks to get to the store.
Along with the big streets on parking spots, also goes the fact that there's just a lot more space in this country than in Germany. Everything is huge here, and I especially enjoy that when it comes to living spaces. Houses, bedrooms, closets, fridges, all of that is just so much bigger in the US. And especially here in Ohio, living space is still relatively inexpensive compared to Munich, which is the most expensive city to live in Germany. Here, when people say that they have a tiny bedroom, it's still big for German standards usually. And in Ohio, you can buy a regular house with, let's say, 2 or 3 bedrooms for like $100,000 to $200,000, while even just an apartment with 3 bedrooms in Munich is usually over $1 million. The fifth thing that I really wouldn't want to miss about the US is how easy it is to connect with people here. Americans in general are just so open to meeting new people and making new friends. You can combine friend groups pretty easily if you're having a party or a barbecue, and especially as someone who's new to a country, it's a lot easier to find friends than it would be in Germany, where friend groups tend to be a little more closed off and long-term. Plus, I feel like Americans are great at genuinely being interested in another person's story and finding common ground, even if you're really different people on the surface. Number 6 is pretty simple, but it has become an absolute essential part of my life: kettle corn. It's a mix of sweet and salty popcorn, and it's the absolute best snack in the world. The best store brand for kettle corn is Boom Chicka Pop, by the way. They're not sponsoring me, even though they should, so if anyone working for Boom Chicka Pop is watching, shoot me an email. But jokes aside, in Germany it's actually standard to eat sweet popcorn at the movie theater. So if you don't specify otherwise, ordering popcorn means ordering sweet popcorn. Not even mixed, just sweet. In the US, popcorn is salty by default and often has a butter sauce on top. So it's more of a salty and buttery snack.
Same here in New Zealand, salt, butter. Sweet, not here in New Zealand.
And they'll also put things like cheese powder on it, which has grown on me, to be honest. But the creme de la creme...
Cheese powder? I've never heard of cheese powder.
...creme is still kettle corn. Number 7 is carpet in houses. It's a lot more common in the US to have carpeted floors in the living room, but especially in the bedrooms, than it is in Germany. In Germany, that's a rather outdated thing, and you won't see a lot of houses with carpet anymore these days. You'll mostly find hardwood floors there, parquet usually. And that's because most Germans prefer hardwood floors, and nowadays a lot of Americans do too, but I love how common carpet is here because I just find it so much more cozy to wake up in the morning and walk on soft, fluffy carpet rather than walking on cold and slippery hardwood floors.
I agree, carpet is the way to go. Here in New Zealand, carpet, I got carpet. Carpet just feels nice. It can be a fat pain to clean up stuff and it gets stuck in the carpet. But overall, I'd choose carpet over hardwood floor any day of the week.
One big thing that I'd like for Germany to adopt, so this is my official request, Germany, is the amount of pools that you'll find here in the US. Not just private pools that you'll find in someone's backyard, but neighborhood pools or pools in apartment buildings. That's not a common thing at all in Germany, but here, if you live in the suburbs or a more residential neighborhood, it's super common that there's a public pool that everyone living in the neighborhood can use. And many apartment complexes have a pool too, kind of like a hotel. There are even student apartment buildings with pools here. And needless to say,
I have watched a ton of these videos, a ton. No one's ever brought up the pools, the neighborhood pools. It's actually really cool. Here in New Zealand, we do that. Where I live, there's a neighborhood pool. Very cheap. It's like, I think like $2 to enter it. It's got 3 different pools. It's not like the biggest, but there's a neighborhood pool. So very, very cool that a lot of similarities. I never knew that America had neighborhood pools.
In the summer, that's just really awesome. You either have a pool in your own neighborhood or you'll go to the one in your friend's neighborhood or building, and they often have public grills too. The next thing that I love here in the US in my daily life is the bar culture. I feel like overall it's a much bigger bar/pub culture here than in Germany, especially compared to Munich, where we don't have a lot of bars where you just go in and get a drink at the bar and then stand around or sit on a bar stool. Most places have table service, and if you want to go party, you'll usually go to a club where you'll have to pay a cover fee and where the party doesn't really start until 1 a.m. or later. Here in the US, I just love how many, let's call them non-binding bars there are where nobody cares whether you order something or not, and you can just get a beer for $3, or at least here in Cincinnati you can, and you can hang out, and many bars even have a dance floor too. No cover fee, and since in Ohio and many other American states, the sale of alcohol has to end by 2 a.m., most bars close at 2 or 2:30 a.m. Sounds early, and you might wonder, why would I like that? Well, I like it because it means that people start partying much earlier, and I get to go to sleep at pretty much my normal sleep time, because I'm a night owl, and I don't have to ruin the entire next day, like in Germany, where you often stay out until 6 a.m. or later, because the party doesn't even really start until late at night. Plus, going out here is much cheaper, since a lot of the bars simply have a dance floor and you don't need to pay a cover fee, so it's more flexible, better hours in my opinion, and a lot cheaper. Plus, I like the music much better too. I'm not really into EDM, and in my opinion, Germans don't have great taste in music because they don't have a lot of rhythm, so everything is always just boom, 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 like the same beat the whole night. So I personally just like the music here in the US a lot better. Another really important one is Mexican food. With Mexico being right across the border and Mexicans being the biggest immigrant group here, you'll find Mexican restaurants everywhere, which we don't really have in Germany. Now, before you guys comment, oh, but it's not real Mexican food, it's Tex-Mex, it's Americanized. Well, first of all, that tastes really good too, but even in Cincinnati, in the Midwest, there are numerous authentic Mexican restaurants as well. I've never been to Mexico myself, but if Mexicans who live here say that it's authentic, I'll believe them. You don't have to travel to certain states to find good Mexican food. It's really all over the country. The next point is something that I've talked about.
I love that. That's something that's... I think when I come to America, that's going to really shock me, is the influence of Mexican culture, Mexican food, the real deal. I swear we've got Mexican food here, but whether it's the real deal, exactly what she said, you can only know until an actual Mexican tells you, this is legit.
Out a little more in detail in this video, but I really like the positive mindset in the American culture. This is a generalization, of course.
I love this.
Overall, Americans have an attitude that's much more, let's try it, what could go wrong, rather than Germans, who are often more like, why would we try that? Something could go wrong. I like to summarize it like this. When Germans would say, why are you doing that? Americans are often more like, why not? Which is something that I personally just really enjoy, because I find it to be a much more supportive environment to be.
It's infectious. It's infectious. Like the way that I put it, if I want to be successful hanging around Americans, they ain't going to drag you down. They're going to lift you up. They're going to go, no, do it. Why not do it? You know what I mean? They say if you want to be successful, surround yourself with like-minded people or successful people. Positive mindset. Americans.
Creative personally, and live your life how you want to live it and not how other people expect you to live it. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have this YouTube channel if it weren't for that positive and encouraging mindset here. Number 12 on my list is flexibility, by which I mostly mean that compared to Germany, when it comes to moving or your job, things are a lot more spontaneous and you can decide things much more last minute here. Like, well, in Germany, it's common that you have to give a 3 months notice to quit your job or be fired. It's only a 2 weeks notice here, even for salary jobs, which obviously has a lot of downsides too, but I kind of like—
I think here in New Zealand, majority of places about 4 weeks.
How it makes life a little bit more flexible. Even more so with housing, if you rent a place, it's usually a 1-year lease in the US. If you want to stay after that year, you can usually re-sign the lease for another year, but it kind of encourages a lot of people to move a lot, which again might be perceived as something negative, but I personally like how it's normal for people to move around a lot and thereby keep their lives interesting and keep their options open as to where and how they're gonna live in the future. In Germany, leases are usually unlimited and people move a lot less in general. If you buy a house in Germany, you usually plan on staying there permanently or at least for a really long time, whereas Americans often just buy houses and then sell them again after a few years to move somewhere new. And last but not least, a thing that I could have included in my point on convenience, but I felt like it deserved to have its own point on the list, is drive-thrus. One of the most American and most convenient things ever. There are really drive-thrus everywhere here for fast food restaurants, obviously, but also for Starbucks and other coffee shops, pharmacies, banks, so like drive-thru ATMs, drive-thru vaccines, which is how I got my COVID vaccine, drive-thru convenience stores, or even liquor stores, and apparently there are even drive-thru wedding chapels.
Yeah, all of those are pretty crazy. Crazy. Banks, that's nuts. We don't have that here. Pharmacies, nuts. You have to get out, walk inside. But let me just tell you, Starbucks just came to my town. Literally, we're talking 2026, like at the start of this year. Drive-through coffees, hot chocolates. It just came to New Zealand 2026. I wonder when your first coffee shop drive-through was created in America. I wonder when. In fact, let's figure it out right now. When was the first drive-through coffee shop created in America? So it's claiming that drive-through takeaway stores started roughly around 1960s, and then it's claiming that drive-through coffee shop, the first one was around 1990. 2026 here in New Zealand, it just opened up Starbucks drive-through here in New Zealand, start of the year, 1990. You guys are 36 years ahead of New Zealand.
You can definitely call it lazy, but it's also part of that American convenience that has kind of seduced me in a way. It's just so comfortable to be in your own car, not worrying about what you look like really, waiting in line while sitting down with your own music, but still getting food and completing other errands. And that wraps up my list of 13 things about the US that I don't want to live without anymore after living here for 5 years.
Absolutely love this video. 13 things about the USA. I learned a new thing. Americans have neighborhood pools. I did not know that. First time I've ever heard of that. I love the Mexican influence, Mexican food. She loves that. I think that's going to be something that blows my mind when I come to America. And I love the positive mindset. I mean, if you don't love the positive mindset, then America's not the place for you. If you want to think that you can create whatever business or do whatever the heck you want and have the support behind you instead of people dragging you down, America is the place to go. America is the place to go. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, make sure to leave a comment. I love reading all of you guys' comments, and make sure to check me out on Twitch. We go live Monday to Thursday. Come hang out with me. We react to American videos live together, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Let's go.